Coming up next on The Beat Goes On, we welcome Tibor Mackor, Business Development Consultant. Tibor has made it his business to understand and promote the value of the baby boomer in today's business environment. Fascinating stats that still make the baby boomer difficult to ignore. Tibor Mackor, welcome to The Beat Goes On.
Thank you very much, Gerard.
Tibor, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. We've got a baby boomer chat show here, and I know we've had these discussions, and what is it, 6 years we've been doing the Beat Goes On, and it's all about baby boomers.
Yep.
And I thought it's about time that we really had a good chat about us baby boomers. Where are we going? Where are we been?
Cool.
We've certainly caused a lot of happiness and sadness in the world with our generation, haven't we?
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Now, Tibor, how close to being a baby boomer are you?
I'm at the last stages of being a baby boomer. So in other words, I'm one of the last that was born.
What year were you born then?
1962.
1962. Well, you only very scrape in, and that's only from the American point of view.
Correct.
Because the Americans take it to 1964,
Correct.
but the British took it to 1960.
Yes.
So that was strange. I wonder how that came about.
I guess the American demographics decided that they wanted to do it in the way that they felt. They've never accepted the British way of doing things either. So,
So the Americans say that a baby boomer was born from 1946 to 1964.
that is correct.
So, and the British say 1946 to 1960.
60.
Yeah. So it's a little bit confusing sometimes. But the next question, Tibor, is why are you interested in this subject? How did you get to know so much about us baby boomers and what, the whole story about the generations?
Well, my business background is in helping businesses improve their businesses, I guess, overall, and having business owners understand what demographics does to their business and how they can actually utilize it to make more money. And one of the key things that I, over time, and especially over the last 6 years, have spent a lot of time researching is what demographics actually does. And at the moment, if you know that the world is going through some financial stress as such, it is because of the baby boomers.
Ooh.
All right.
Lead on.
Right. So one of the key things is, and you'll see from the graphs that I've supplied, that if you have a look at the American graph of live births, it shows that there were 78 million baby boomers born. The immigration adjusted number is just around about 100 million.
Wow, so another extra 30 million came in from overseas.
Correct.
100 million baby boomers.
Correct.
Wow.
So if you can imagine that,
That's
there
a
was,
big whack, isn't it?
that is a huge whack. Now everybody thinks, well, there's other generations following up. One of the key things, if we can agree upon, is that the Americans have led the economic growth around the world over the last 3 or 4 decades. So because America was the economic powerhouse of the world, and we had 100 million people moving through phases of consumerism, and we'll get to that graph shortly. But as we moved through the phases of consumerism, certain industries suddenly started booming and others started shutting down. And that was mainly because there was the demand that was created. Now, coming back to the current financial crisis situation, in America, at the same time as what the baby boomers got to 100 million, the Generation X that followed is only at around 70 million.
Ooh, yeah.
Right, so that is a significant number. So in other words, if you were making 100 million widgets a year,
now you're only going to be making 70.
and it's for a specific age group or age range, you now have to make 70 million.
Yeah.
And that is one of the major causes of where we're going from.
And then with the millennials coming through, it'll probably be down to about 50 million, won't it?
Well, actually, the millennials, if you take it on immigration-adjusted numbers for America, on the graph it shows 100 million, roughly 100 million were born in the United States. Immigration-adjusted, it's about 130 million.
Are they doing well, the millennials?
So there's a larger number. But they're not going to have the same impact on the world as what the baby boomers did, because the baby boomers, the biggest number were born between 1956 and 1963. That was, I think if memory serves me correctly, about 5 million people a year. So you had this steady growth, and then you had this big boom, and then so like you had the drop off of the Generation X, or going into the Generation X's as such. So for America, that just explains why we're facing the, I guess, economic decline right now, because there are not enough people buying the same number of products that used to be bought when the baby boomers were buying.
Now, one of my reasons for starting The Beat Goes On was that 6 or 7 years ago I felt that us baby boomers were getting a bad rap. Here we were, a big generation, a lot of us, but less and less was on television about the baby boomers. In fact, it seems to be the whole mad business of television and advertising is aimed at the 25 to 49-year-old. It's and completely ignoring this big block of baby boomers. Explain that.
All right. That comes back to the charts showing the consumer life cycle of spending. And this is what every single person does at some stage in their life. And this is, the numbers on here are averages. There are some people that are out of average, but this is the average person that goes through their spending. So if we take, for example, at the age of 20, generally, people enter the workforce. So what is needed then? If you've come out of a very small population prior to the baby boomers, and suddenly you've got this whole group of baby boomers coming through in the 1980s, into looking for 70s and 80s, starting to look for work, what is one of the key things that boomed in that era? Well, it's looking for work. And obviously, the more work that they were looking for, the less jobs were available. So if you remember back in the 60s and, well, probably in the 70s more, lots of riots around in America.
1968 was
well, there we go. That was
year, wasn't it?
That was and one of the main things about that is there wasn't enough jobs.
So the fact is, as the baby boomer aged, 6 years ago when we started The Beat Goes On, what you're saying is that we're no longer spending as much money, the baby boomers.
Absolutely right.
We've got our homes, we've got our cars.
Correct.
And that's the whole reason.
Yep. So if we go down the spending pattern further, you can have a look at the chart as we go along to see where people spend most of their money and generally at what age. If we get to the age where the baby boomers now are, and that is about 52 to 53, you have a look at that. At that age, generally, baby boomers buy their last automobile. You have a look at what happened in America over the last year and a half. They had auto sale booms, even in this country.
Ah, very interesting.
Yeah, and it's all based on the fact that people come to certain ages and then they start.
They do. So in the last 2 years, the peak of the baby boomer, which was around about 50, decided that they'd get their final car.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if you go take it one step further, around about the same age, another sort of like 54 to 55 years of age, on average, people go and, because they've been living in their house for a while and the kids have flown the nest, time for a revamp. So you have a look at the statistics on renovations on homes, and you have a look at the age group that are doing it. It's between probably the age of 53 right through to about the age of 57. And that is an average time that people spend some time in redoing their houses.
Now, because I'm 68, there's quite a difference between 68 and 53, isn't
Very
there?
much so.
Yeah, so really, because I'm one of the leading baby boomers in age, it's really not so much what the 67, 65, 64s are doing, it's what they're doing back at the peak of the baby boomers, which is... Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah. Not necessarily.
No, but based on these figures here, yeah.
Well, if you have a look at it this way, the opportunity for business is still huge with the baby boomers, but you've got to be so targeted about what their needs are right now.
Okay, what's the next big thing that the 55-year-old baby boomers
Right, so if you look at 55, because the kids have flown the coop and there's a bit more spending money around, people might invest in new china, dinnerware, that type of stuff, at about the age of 55 to 60 roughly. Also, at the age of 55 on average, life insurance becomes an important part of making sure that they are properly covered, and also doctors' fees start increasing, because on the average, the baby boomers haven't been looking after their health as much as they should have.
Retirement village, of course, and
we're coming to the retirement village age. Now, the baby boomer is a very independent animal. They will refuse to move into, can you call it, catered retirement villages, ones where they look after you, they would much rather either still live in their house independently and only move out to can you call it a retirement village at a later point in their life. So while retirement villages are being built all over the place here, some of them, in my opinion, are building far too early. We're still a long way before the bulk of the baby boomers get to the stage where they start looking at saying, right, we want to get into a retirement village. So at the age of 60, for example, hospitals are obviously
a big business.
There's going to be big business there. But you'll be surprised. Travel. Suddenly, when the baby boomers, because remember at this stage now, between now and probably the next 10 years, baby boomers are going to be coming into a lot of money from inheritances.
Yeah, that's right.
The first thing they're going to do is, so they're not going to add to the economy that much, because what they're going to do is they're going to pay down their debt first, which doesn't add to the economy in any way. However, travel.
They're going to splurge.
They are going to travel. So you're going to find baby boomer numbers, and it's already happening. You can just read through the statistics. There's an incredible number of baby boomers starting to travel around the world. Now, up until the age of round about 68-ish, most baby boomers are still happy to go to hotel to hotel. So for the hotel industry, their target market along those lines should be up until about the age of 68 to make sure that they capture those people to come around and go and stay in their hotels. One of the big things that is now taking off, and it is building more and more, is cruise ships.
Yeah.
Because the baby boomer, when they hit the age of, as you say, 68 and older, don't want to carry a suitcase around with them anymore. They're much happy stow it away and go on a cruise ship and just sit back and relax.
You only, Jared Murphy, a great friend of mine, has the Bon Voyage TV show. He says baby boomers want to unpack once.
Correct.
Unpack once, have a great time, and then pack at the end of the year.
Absolutely, dead right. Dead right. But it's sort of like more the older baby boomer at this stage rather than the younger one.
So Tibor, look, we haven't got much time because it's fascinating, but I'm going to come back to that question. How did you get into this? And I like that accent. It's from a foreign, strange country called South Africa, which is not very good at cricket
or
rugby.
No.
It's just not good at the both of them, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Tell us about South Africa, and when did you come to New Zealand?
I came to New Zealand in 1998, sorry. And made the decision that the future there wasn't quite as bright as I would have liked it to be, and decided to come to the bright lights of New Zealand.
Now that's a great decision, isn't it? There you were in South Africa. You're a young man with your whole career ahead of you, and you made the decision to come to New Zealand.
Yep.
How did you pick New Zealand? What?
Actually, it came because of a sports tour. I play underwater hockey.
Yeah, underwater hockey?
Yes, underwater hockey.
You really make it hard, don't you?
Yeah, quite right. And I came out with a South African team back in 1995 and was just blown away by the country. Immediately applied for residency, got it fairly quickly, and took me about 2 years to finally make the move. So, yeah.
So you get to New Zealand, and obviously you've been here 17 years, and you got in the business of understanding what's happening with the generations.
Correct.
And how does that help you today? How do you use all this information?
The information that I get from the 2013 census, and also taking the international numbers into account, I help my business owners understand where their markets are currently and where their future markets are going to be as such. Because if you look at these graphs here, every single person passes that point in their life at some stage or other. And at some stage, if you look at the statistics of the numbers of people born and immigrating into a country, we're all going to pass through that age group at some stage. Yeah. So if I can identify or help the business owner identify the right products to sell at the right time, I'm doing them a wonderful service.
And it's one of those things that the business owner, he has a general knowledge of it, but you really drill deep down, don't
Correct.
you, and understand it. And obviously you're a great help. And it's wonderful to have you on the program today to tell us about the baby boomer. And that's we've had conversations about it, and I thought you've got to come on. The beat goes on, because we're all about baby boomers.
Yeah,
and,
I appreciate that.
Now, where are we going from now on? Any surprises?
No
surprises.
no major surprises. Because our technology on healthcare is moving so strongly, the opportunity, I guess, for baby boomers to live longer is there.
Yeah.
However, for baby boomers to look at potentially making money, looking at getting into the natural healthcare and natural foods, those type of areas are going to be incredibly big areas to get involved with over the next number of years. Even if you're a baby boomer, you could get involved with a multi-level marketing company as such and still make some really good money, specifically if they're selling the right type of product as such. Those type of areas as such, if you're in the travel business, if you cater to the right type of people, target them properly, you can have an absolute booming period over the next 20 to 25 years. If you're in the cruise ship industry as such, as I mentioned earlier, that's there. From about the age of 65 onwards is when baby boomers start looking at aged care facilities, and nursing homes really come into the fore at about the age of 84.
There is possibly baby boomers out there thinking of starting a business and might need some advice. Can they give you a call and have
Absolutely,
a chat
they
to you?
can.
What's the website called? And give us a phone number as well.
The telephone number is 021 545 372.
Yep.
www.bbstrategies.co.nz.
Okay. And they can have a chat to you and you can give them some guidance?
Correct.
I mean, it's valuable information, isn't it?
Oh, I believe it's essential information.
Now, we've just touched on the surface, haven't we?
Absolutely right.
Because we can't go into detail, but I'm sure that, there's tons more lurking beneath the surface.
Oh, we can have a more in-depth chat potentially in the future.
Tibor, thank you
Gerard,
very much for coming on the show and going rah, rah, rah for us. Well, it's a wonderful generation, the baby boomers.
Yep, correct.
And I'll tell you why, because I'm one. And you're nearly one.
Well, it depends which country you're looking at here.
Thank you, Tibor.
Thank you, Gerard.